Hello and welcome to another episode of the Farr Show, where I'm Damien Farr, and tonight we're finally doing it. We're doing my camera episode, one that I've been waiting to do for a while. So we're gonna talk about the cameras that I've used on this show and cameras that I'd like to be able to use on the show eventually, or like to be able to use in any like film production or anything like that, because I feel like cameras are one of the most important tools of making any show that's related to video. I mean, they are the most important tool other than the person making it, so I'm not gonna give myself that much credit. The camera is doing all the work. I'm just here sitting talking in front of a microphone, well, a couple microphones. So let's start doing it here, where the first one we're gonna talk about, even though it's not a camera, this was the original thing that I used to make videos, was the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. This was one of my first phones too, my first smartphone actually. I had a Sony Xperia Play, but I never used it as a phone really. But this was my first actual phone, and this thing went for 4 years of being a phone, playing games, mainly just Pokemon Go, and making these videos. So it's insane to think that this thing lasted 4 years. The main issue I had with it, the battery just kept dying. So this was the original thing to use the film. It also gave me like a banana skin look, which looked terrible, but you know, it was a start. We all start somewhere. This was the starting point. I mean, that's the starting point. And then, even though I only used it in one video, I gotta mention it. The Nintendo 3DS, the original 3DS, because I didn't have an XL, or I didn't have a, I didn't have a new 3DS at the time of doing the video. But I made one video, episode 3, where you can find it if you go watch episode 3. You can find a 3D version of episode 3. Which was Nintendo's 3D, not YouTube 3D. So YouTube 3D just screwed it up. But it's still up there. I keep it there just because, it took forever to make. For some reason, it just never worked. But I thought I'd mention that as well because, it was there at one point. I didn't use it much, but it was there. Then we're going to the GoPro Hero 3 Black, which I used to use here and there. It actually would be set up like this, angled, obviously on the old desk though. Which, I'm thinking about bringing something like that back. I'm not going to use the GoPro because, well, somebody's borrowing the GoPro almost all the time. I'm just using it for this one video here just to say, hey, I used the GoPro for a while. I actually really enjoyed that. So, this was used all the way up to Season 3's ending. And then Season 4, I finally got this camera that we're looking at, or you're seeing through. And then I used this for one episode. This was for like half a season or a full season. I'm not 100% certain. But it was used for a good amount of episodes, and then I just kind of was like, I don't know if I need this anymore. And I kind of just stopped using it. And then we get to the camera that we're using right now. This is the main cam. I don't know what I give them all kind of a name. So like, this is just the GoPro, obviously. This is the Note 4 3DS, even though I don't use the 3DS ever and use the Note 4 for a while. Hero 3 Black. I mean, it's a GoPro. But the main cam is a Sony FDR-AX700. I wrote the name down because I don't know the name of it. So I just thought, it's a nice camera, HDR capable, even though HDR doesn't really show up on YouTube. But I'm thinking of future-proofing in that way. So HDR capable. I love this camera. This is my favorite camera that I have. And it's my favorite by a while. Not saying any of these are bad. They're all amazing that I have, but it's my favorite, other than maybe one, which we'll get to in a little bit. Then we got the close-up cam, which is the Sony AX100, which, this is it. This is the one that gets all the close-up shots. Anytime you see a close-up shot from there or there, looking at me, this is the camera. It's a little cheaper, to be honest, than the FDR AX700. This was, I think, $1,000 or $1,500. That was $2,000 if I remember correctly. I don't remember because I bought them so long ago at this point. But this one doesn't have HDR, but it is still 4K. So I really love it. I just call it the close-up cam, to be honest, which is kind of true. That's what it is. Similar to that one that I'm using to film this and the main cam that I've always used, but still good camera. Not as good as that one though. Then we're gonna go over to one that I didn't show in any videos, but I did use, actually. My aunt gave it to me. It's the Sony DCR-C or HC40. and I used it in a video that's never come out yet, but it's gonna be kind of remade with newer cameras, where I interviewed myself. And though the videos never come out, I still do have the tape of it, so maybe one day I'll actually put it to where, you know, it comes out. But I'm gonna be refilming it here soon, actually, because I felt that was always gonna be a cool video. So I haven't used it really because I only have the one tape. It does take flash card too, like a Sony proprietary memory stick. Memory Duo, if I remember correctly. Memory Stick Duo, yep. But I don't have any of those, and they're expensive, so I haven't bought any. But you might see this used occasionally in some videos in the future, because if I want to get a retro feel, I feel this is the way to go. I also like that the actual, you know, thing, the lens cap is in it, which is kind of cool. But, you know, I haven't used it yet, really, but I still do enjoy having it. I mean, it's just another tool in the arsenal. If I need it, I have it. Then we're gonna go to my Sony Xperia ZX3 or XZ3. I don't know what the name of it is. This one was used for a couple videos here and there. Off the top of my head, the VR video, you know, the one where you saw the actual cam from my point of view, this was it. And I really enjoyed it. I do love this phone. Do I think it's better than the Note? Spec-wise, obviously it's better than the Note, but there's definitely pros and cons. So, I mean, I love that phone. I think it's definitely worth a buy, but there's much newer versions at this point. So, and the camera, well, good. It's a Sony cam. Ironically enough, I wanted to point out before I forget, the Note 4 actually is a Sony camera in it too. So technically, from the beginning, I've been using Sony cams other than this here 3DS and the GoPro. Other than those, I've been using all Sony cameras, which is kind of insane to think. Obviously, I do have a bias towards Sony. They're the camera I used in college. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, they're the ones that I should keep buying then. After I bought this one and I just continued to expand, it was the best. And my aunt had this old one, like I said, and I'm like, ooh, it's a Sony cam. I'll take that. I can maybe use it. Then we're going to the one that I said might be my favorite, because obviously the main cam is amazing, but the Spidey cam, it's really small. There's no battery in it right now for obvious reasons. There's no reason to have a battery in it because I'm not filming with it. But this camera is amazing as well. It's pretty much my better version of the GoPro, because I let somebody borrow the GoPro and I don't think I'm ever going to really get the GoPro back. So I'm like, well, this is better. This is Sony. Obviously, Sony doesn't make a better thing every time, but you know what I mean. This is 4K, GoPro's 1080p. So I thought, well, that's cool. I want this. I bought it. It's got the little watch thing, which I don't have on me, so then I can view what it's looking at because there's no viewfinder on it. But this is definitely a great camera. If you are an action person where you're doing action things, get this camera. I'm serious. Like, it is worth it. $500 with the little live view remote thing, and it was worth it. And then this is the newest one that I haven't used yet, but I think it's going to replace the GoPro as the desk cam. I mentioned it in the rundown. This is the Sony DSC-HX80. So I know what you're thinking, Damien, why is this such a big deal? Well, I like this camera for a couple of reasons. I mean, it's got a pop-up flash, which I'll probably never use. It's also got a viewfinder that pops up. I mean, that's kind of cool. So then it's got a viewfinder if need be. I mean, that's kind of sick. But I think the best part, to be honest, turning it back on here, it's not touchscreen, but it's got a screen that flips up like that, so then I can see what I'm shooting. So that's kind of cool. It only does 1080p video, so I think that's the reason kind of why I was like, well, it can replace the GoPro. Got it for free, though, as well. So, I mean, I'm not going to complain. I think it's great. I do wish it had a touchscreen, though. That's my one gripe. But other than that, I think it's a great camera overall. So, those are all the cameras that I've worked with. Other than, I worked with my buddy's Canon on some of his videos that he's worked on. A Canon, I don't know the name of it off the top of my head. I'll probably have it right there. And I worked with his Blackmagic Ursa Mini. So, those I don't own. These are mine that I own, actually. Though, once again, the Note, the 3DS and my phone, my Sony phone, are not cameras per se, but I've used them for stuff that I've needed to. So those are the cameras that I've used. What are the cameras that I want to be using? Well, we're going to get the biggest one out of the way, the one that's not Sony, but one that I've always wanted and still will want, and partially is my dream camera in a way, the Kodak Super 8 camera. And I know what you're thinking, Damien, that's never come out. Exactly, it's never come out, and I don't think it will ever come out, which is sad because I like that it's film and digital at the same time. It's kind of like this. It's a modernization of this in a way. But I want it. I think it looks sweet. I like the idea that, you know, you can have this film aspect if you want, or you don't have to have it. I think that's cool. The fact that it records both onto an SD card and film is sweet. So I would love that. I would love a camera that does that modern day, preferably a Sony one, but I don't think that's ever gonna happen. Then we're going to Red, the Red Komodo specifically in this case. Why the Red Komodo? Well, it's their newest camera. It's got autofocus, which when I'm doing something like this, where I can't really focus the camera, I need it to autofocus. This one does loads of autofocusing, I've noticed, when I'm editing, that you sometimes don't see, where it's just trying to focus on me because I'm moving. So I think it's great. I like Red. They're expensive as hell, but you know, most of the time it's worth it. They're also modular, which I think is sweet. I've always wanted to get like modular stuff, so that'd be sweet. And then finally, we're gonna get in Sony here. Sony Alpha 7 series. They're mirrorless cameras, which I've never used a mirrorless camera. I mean, this is the closest thing I'd have to it. But I just think they're pretty interesting. I've always wanted to use something that I can swap lenses. As you can tell, none of these have swap lenses. This is just a point and shoot camera for the most part. This is a film camera. That's a film, or, you know, a film camera. When I say film, more like a television show film, where most of it's all built in. So you don't really need other lenses. But I've always wanted to get into that. So if I could get a dream camera, it'd be a Kodak Super 8, you know, film digital, Red Komodo where it's, you know, modular, and then Sony mirrorless type camera. I think that would be amazing. So what are some cameras you've used? I know most people are going to say their phones, but I'm curious. Tell me really in the comments below. What are some cameras you've used? I mean, obviously I'm a rare occurrence where I've used so many cameras at this point. I own all these, and then I've used 2 other ones that are pretty sick. And then, you know, over time I've gotten better with them. I think I've been doing more and more, and I plan to continue doing more and more with these cameras over time. But I think, you know, it's cool to see where people have come from. Once again, I've started from literally a Galaxy Note 4. This was my original thing. I went from this with just the lights up in the rafters there that are just the garage lights because I'm in a garage, to suddenly having something like these sweet LED lights that look amazing. Then all these cameras, I've just improved over time, and that's what happens when you continue doing something. Have I made any money from this? I don't get asked that ever, but no, I haven't. But I enjoy doing it. And I'm going to continue doing it for a long time. So this is technically the last episode other than the rundown that's coming out for this season. So I think this was a great season. The upgrades were obvious. I mean, audio is so much better than it was previously. And I'm just going to continue to improve. The video quality was last season. That got improved. Audio quality. Now it's overall quality. I mean, I don't know what else to say. So I'm excited to see where we go. I mean, it's been almost 5 years at the time, you know, that this video is coming out. I've recorded a couple days in advance, but it's been almost 5 years of doing this. I don't understand how though, but the seasons never seem to match up with the 5-year anniversary. But, you know, it's been sweet. So hopefully you've enjoyed the ride so far and continue to enjoy the ride. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and have a far off night.